Hi everybody, welcome to today's video. We're going to do some more D&D horror stories, so I hope you're all ready for that. Let's just jump right into it. Alrighty, our first story is from user Deathclaw Scared and is titled, I'm done DMing. Goes, I'm done. I give up. Some of my players, who I think are my friends, just can't be pleased. They always make a character that doesn't fit the story, doesn't have motivation, and of course, uses everyone's favorite excuse, it's what my character would do. I made a character. She was supposed to be important. They were in her house, they knew her name, characters as well. She was a construct. She does not address someone until they show her respect, so they were calling her names and slurs trying to get her attention. One of them tried to touch her breast. She teleported him out of the house and then spent the whole game complaining. Then there was another player who just rode his hate train. Only one was respectful to her and had a conversation. 1/3 of my players cared for our campaign. I just want to get this off my chest and say that I'm at my limit. I quit. I give up. I'm done. And then they update later saying, I want to thank everyone. Your messages made me feel that I do need new players and friends. I'm just not done DMing, just done with these guys. From my heart, thank you. This is kind of an awful one. So it sounds like these players aren't being respectful of the DM/game. When players make their character, you as the DM always have final say if it's allowed at your table or not. And you absolutely should turn down PCs that do not work with the setting. Always try to meet a player obviously in the middle, suggesting potential edits to help them kind of fit that character into the world. But you always have the ability to say no, and you by no means should allow a PC that does not fit at all. In cases like this, it pays to have a conversation, maybe not fully in this exact instance here. Let them know as a DM that you work really hard to try to get the story, the world, everything built up, and that you would like them to kind of respect the setting and your time better. You should also be laying out ground rules, like i.e. don't be trying to fondle like an NPC or anything like that. If they don't, and they don't respect your rules, they don't respect the boundaries you lay down, they don't respect your time, you need a new table and new players. These people don't sound like they're this DM's friend. They kind of sound like they're pieces of shit. Or at the very least, they're not taking his time seriously and they're not being respectful of their time. This one was short and sweet. I just wanted to go over it though. Always remember, bad D&D is not better than no D&D. Always do no D&D if you can't get good D&D. Let's jump to our next story though. Our second story is from OKBat1486, titled Our Forever DM is in letting me DM a campaign. A very important detail to this story is the DM is also my husband. He introduced D&D to me, when we were dating, and finally talked me to starting a campaign with him and a few of our good friends. It was the second campaign he DM'd and his third time playing, but the rest of us knew nothing about D&D before this. He had said he would do a small campaign to warm us up to the game, but it ended up being 2 years long. Haha. Really bad laugh. This launched me into an absolute obsession with the game. We bought a 3D printer. He would print minis for me to paint. We both are dice goblins and spend way too much on beautiful dice sets. We bought every book for 5e we could find. Start this off here. I love to see the creative side that comes out of people who really enjoy D&D. It's part of the best parts of this game is you get to not only be creative and tell a story with friends and people at the table, but you also potentially can design characters and stuff like that. You can do painting, there's creating dice, there's getting dice, there's so many different ways to express yourself. I love the creativity that this entire set of games, that the entire like TTRPG community kind of creates. It's awesome. Let's keep the story going though. The more we played, the more I had a desire to DM as well. Some of the other players in the group encouraged me to do a Greek mythology themed campaign, since that is something I love and know lots about. I did a year's worth of research in my free time, ways to mix the game aspect and the mythological elements that already existed. I watched a lot of games online to learn different DM techniques and roleplay skills. I downloaded and completed Baldur's Gate 3, which is a phenomenal game by the way, for a different take on combat than what we were playing in my husband's campaign. I even started looking at DM screens on Etsy. I was really excited to play my campaign, and I shared a lot of my research with my husband. At one point in his campaign, we took a 6-month hiatus. He was feeling burnt out and didn't know how he wanted to finish the story. He kept saying that he felt stuck as the forever DM and he wanted to just step down. At that point, 2 of the players had dropped out and all of us were ready for something new. I suggested we start my campaign so we had time to play and get the creative juices flowing again. Everyone else still in the party was excited to start making new characters and change things up, but my husband asked that we hold off on starting my campaign because we knew we'd never come back to finish his. So I left it and waited until he was ready to finish up. Okay, I can understand putting a new campaign on hold to finish up a current campaign, especially if someone has limited time to play during the week. As someone that tends to be the forever DM, not that it's a bad thing, I get the feeling of burnout. It happens to everyone. It can be hard to keep coming up with new ideas and new ways to keep your players interested and kind of keep the story going. I find in order to kind of avoid burnout, it helps me to personally swap to different systems that I will DM for, even if it's just for a one shot or two. Mainly I DM in 5e, but I also do a side campaign in Star Wars 5e, which I would love to do a video on, while also doing a multi-shot / mini campaign, kind of utilizing the Lancer system, which is a sci-fi mech TTRPG. And I've been dabbling into Delvers, which is a very furry coded 5e supplement / setting. By the way, though, for any of you who are interested in either system reviews or kind of deep dives, I was thinking of doing some videos on potentially like Delvers, Lancer, Star Wars 5e, and potentially even Cyberpunk. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested, because I kind of want to do videos on those just to kind of get those out there and to kind of help explain those systems to people, because it can be really scary trying to like find a new system to play. And I don't think necessarily everybody needs to just take 5e and just reflavor it, though we did that for Star Wars. And like one of the campaigns we do. So, I mean, there's obviously your mileage will vary. We finished the campaign end of October last year. He and I were in the middle of moving, and then the holidays were coming up. So I told everyone to wait until the new year to start my campaign. My husband joined a new group in that time frame as a player. It was with people I didn't know, so I wasn't invited, which was okay with me. January this year, we found out I'm pregnant. Congrats to OP. The first trimester, I was so sick, and there was no way I could have the energy to start a campaign. Now I'm in the second trimester, and I'm feeling much better. With the summer starting, everyone's schedules have started to clear back up, so they voiced that they wanted to play again. I was a bit concerned about starting my campaign because I wasn't sure if I could squeeze it all in between now and when the baby's due, and I don't want to have an active campaign with a newborn. Completely understandable. I suggested we do a smaller campaign and started putting one together. It's not going to be as big and as detailed as my Greek mythology one, but I'm still pretty excited to play again. But my husband just messaged a chat with a campaign idea he has. He started making plans for a session 0, and he's inviting some players from the other group he plays with. I feel like I was totally shoved to the side. I talked to him about it, and he said that he knows I'm bummed that I can't do my big campaign, and since he has an idea for a small campaign, he wants to do that instead. I let him know that I'm okay holding off on my big one and DMing a small one instead. He said I can do a one-shot or something, but I should let him DM because he knows what he's doing and already told everyone about his campaign idea. I'm still pretty frustrated that it got swiped away from me like that, but I also just want to play again. I just wish all that time on researching how to DM wasn't being put to waste like this. Okay, 1, any research you do and ideas for a campaign, they're all for naught. It's not for like naught, excuse me. Save it, you can utilize it later, pull it into one-shots, other campaigns, character ideas and stuff like that. It's never time wasted. I'm pretty sure here, and I'm hoping the husband's trying to be helpful in this situation, because there's going through having a baby and all that is a lot, especially for the woman. But hopefully OP stands their ground here. They should be allowed to, at the very least, run a short campaign if they'd like to, and not be shut down by their husband. Partners in a relationship should support each other's interests. As an idea, perhaps maybe do run it as a one-shot that can then spawn into a multi-shot / short campaign. I've personally done that before. Players will make their piece fees for a one-shot. Everybody, when you're in it, is really enjoying it. They're enjoying the system, the setting, etc. You can then make the time to expand the length of that story out. They have the option to continue those characters onward. It allows for more flexibility, I personally think, when life kind of gets in the way. But that being said, I don't think it's cool that the husband is kind of just shoving it like her ideas aside, because he all of a sudden has this magical idea in his head that like he wants to do for a new campaign. It's kind of not cool, especially when he complains that he's the forever DM. But hopefully they can talk it out and kind of get that figured out. Hey guys, this is kind of where an ad would be if I was getting paid to have ads and all that, which I'm not. But I do want to promote that I do stream on Twitch multiple times during the week, usually during the weekdays and also a little bit on weekends. If you want to talk TTRPGs, just hang out, watch me play games, all that kind of stuff, I would love it if you come and visit. It's at twitch.tv/VanDavy. Links are in the description if you're down for it. If not, totally cool. I appreciate you guys just sitting through this little tidbit. I just wanted to kind of promote that and put that out there. Thank you so much. Let's move on to our next story. Alrighty, our last story is going to be from user Allboard, titled "That Time My Character Was Sexually Assaulted," so trigger warning in here, for a +2 charisma bonus. So, first things first, I, 30 male, am a pretty experienced player. 3 years into the game is not too much time, but I have a bunch of tables during a week. Also, whilst I do have some tables with friends, I do partake in pay-to-play tables, which means I floated around a lot of tables. Since we aren't always compatible, and that is fine, right now I am in a pretty good spot where I love all of the 6 tables I'm in. So holy crap, 6 tables is a lot of tables. I'm glad they're able to play a lot of TTRPGs. I personally have never done pay-to-play. I would hope if you do pay-to-play that the campaigns are really, really well done, considering you're paying for a service. Let's jump into our story though. But it also means I've seen a lot of crap. And the story here starts with one Discord server I followed, What the Funk. He does name the server here, so if you are in the server, maybe keep a heads up. Who knows? And a listing for a new table with it. I interviewed with the DM, and whilst I got a few orange flags, the price initially discussed was changed on the interview from 35 to 50, for example, which then got reversed back to 35. It was definitely nothing big. He mentioned that the campaign would have simple animations of highlights and might get streamed on the line, so that sounded pretty exciting. I ended up signing up. Okay, so personally, if you're going to be in a campaign that is going to be streamed and potentially monetized as a stream, personally, I feel like you should at the very least not be having to pay to play. Also, you should be very concerned if they are attempting to swap prices like this personally. It's one thing to accidentally maybe misspeak, but it kind of sounds like that wasn't the case here. I also noticed it doesn't sound like this DM kind of talked about what the themes of the campaign would be, potential topics they would discuss, do's and don'ts and allowed stuff, but maybe OP forgot to mention that here. Let's continue. Our first session, I meet a lot of PCs for the purpose of this. I will only mention one. First session, I meet a lot of PCs, and for the purpose of this, I will only mention one. Let's call her Druid. She might have been a monk, I actually don't remember. They will come up later. It became really clear that the DM had way more experience managing the server than actually DMing, and the campaign was Tyranny of Dragons, but it became clear that they kept getting derailed by whatever, which is fine, but definitely gave a very different picture of experience from what they mentioned on the interview. He then mentioned that his new players get a new weapon or armor or buff made on Odin's Forge, so we randomly get teleported there. I have no idea where Odin comes into play in Faerun, but here we are. My character was a Warlock Gnome Pack of the Tome, so weapons and armor did very little for my character, and the DM pondered out loud what he should give my character. Odin then decides, instead of giving a material item to my character, they would give him a buff. And here's where things go downhill fast. Within the forge, there were hot, girthy metal rods, verbatim, that Odin uses to forge legendary items. So, as a buff, he orders Druid to hold my character down. They do. I'm going to stop us right here real quick. Trigger warning for that sexual assault we were talking about earlier. If this is not your jive, please click off the video. Otherwise, let's kind of keep it going here. At that point, I can see the writing on the wall just from the description of the rods, and being held down, I entered shock mode. He then proceeds to describe how Odin slowly inserts his hot and girthy rod into my gnome. I am asked to roll 3 Constitution saving throws, where between rolls, the DM continues describing resistance and other very, very, very uncomfortable jokes in the situation. And once the deed is done, my character receives a +2 charisma increase. Okay, I am sorry we had to read through that, but it is required for the story. Now, I am all for buffs and special items for PCs as long as they are given out in equal measure, and I can definitely understand a DM, either an RP, having a character ponder what to give a PC, or them out loud potentially pondering, especially if this is done off the cuff. If not, I'd hope this is paid, that this paid DM would do research before giving out items. That being said, if you are planning to have themes that are graphically sexual, be it consensual or otherwise, you need to talk it out with the party. This goes for any other potentially adult themes that there might be arising. Trying not to do a pun there. I am also surprised here that OP didn't inquire about potential themes there when starting the campaign, but I am going to not try to victim blame here. This DM did some rather disgusting shit, and this should not have been done, whether jokingly or otherwise. It really does not make sense to do what was done here. I really don't want to go into detail too much more. The player, not going to lie, sounded equally shocked as me, the druid players we're talking about here in this situation. I think they saw this. I don't think they saw this coming, and they profusely apologized after. The DM acknowledged he, quote, might have not landed the joke as he wanted, or something akin to that. At that point, I was a little checked out and wasn't sure how they even thought that should be a thing they do. Needless to say, I lasted 3 sessions. Not sure why I didn't drop the first session. I wish I could say I left mid-session, but I didn't. Frowny face. Okay. If something like this comes up, or anything you may not have enjoyed specifically, you should always at the table be able to talk to your DM about it. If you aren't able to, and it makes you uncomfortable enough, do not play. Do not. I understand everyone has a different sense of humor, some darker than others, but who in their right fucking mind would think they're paying to be here, i.e. they're a customer? You know what my customer wants? To be penetrated by a girthy rod. Always, 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 always discuss aloud themes and plan themes at your table with your players. Always. Don't just introduce shit off the cuff like this, because sometimes people don't want to hear in graphic detail about how their character is violated sexually. They may not want to have sexual themes at all in their campaign, and that's perfectly okay. Oh, good God. Let's keep it going. All I think is that DM was so fucking lucky that that was the only reaction the table had, including myself. And it was that of just incredible discomfort. I couldn't believe how incompetent they were and how absolutely degenerate their choice for this was, not only as an introduction, but as a general thing to do in general. I have other horror stories, but this is the one I keep thinking back on with the most bewilderment because of how out of left field it was and how dramatically quickly bad it got. So, like, wrapping up this story, I don't really have anything else to add to this one. Again, as a DM or a player, always discuss themes if you're playing a game, especially if you're paying to play, which there's nothing wrong paying to play, by the way. I hope nobody from this gets the idea that paying to play D&D is a horrible idea. I think for some people it works really great. They don't want to have to go through the effort of trying to find a table they jive with. They don't want to have to worry about finding a DM. You pay a DM, they have all the resources you need. You just get to sit down every week and play. So I totally get it. Though I will say again, please discuss these things. If you're into more graphic and adult things at your table, that's great, but also nobody wants to be thrown into these things without consent. So please, 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 please always talk these through. Always talk these through. Now we don't have these awkward things happening, and then you don't get mentally scarred by the idea of your gnome getting penetrated by a girthy rod. I don't mean to keep bringing up girthy rod. It's fucking disgusting. So that's going to be it for that story there. Alrighty guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed the stories I had and brought to the table here and we got to chit chat about. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and like because it does so much for me. And if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe so it shows up in your beautiful inboxes so you can see me every week. Let me know what your thoughts are on potentially seeing deep dives on videos. Jesus Christ. Videos on, D&D supplements, on campaign settings, on other systems and stuff like that. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Other than that, though, I appreciate you guys all tuning in today, and I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye, everybody.